This is a conversation with Farzana Palathingal. She's an actor, writer, model, spoken word poet, and occupational therapist. Those in Dubai know as one of the brightest talents in theatre. In this conversation, we discuss acting, her process, taking up dark roles, theatre, spoken word poetry, and occupational therapy. This is no time. If you like what you see, then do hit subscribe on YouTube, smash that button I say, follow on Spotify, or rate 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Unfortunately, despite the many jokes and interns I make, I still do not have a team helping me on this. So if you like to see this project continue, then do consider making a small donation on Patreon. And thank you to the people who always continue to do so. For other forms of love and support, you can follow this channel on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, whatever you like, or follow me personally. And now, this is no time. Daniel Day-Lewis said once about acting that the most fascinating work you can do is the one that you have no control over, because that's the part that frays your nerves, because you don't know if life will reveal itself to you in that moment.
Absolutely.
Would you agree? Do you ever get this feeling that the best work you do on stage is the one that you have no control over, or it's often subconscious?
Oh, for sure. And I think with me, the plays that I don't rehearse, like say, for instance, Shmool, or last year I did this play called A Sleepover from Hell. I did not know what I was actually going to do on stage. So I had no control over it, in the sense that I like knowing what I'm going to do. I like knowing what to expect. But with this, like backstage, I was just standing there like, okay, I'm just gonna go and I'm just gonna do what I feel like, and then whatever happens, happens. And when it comes to that, I feel that's where I feel the most alive. And when that happens, when you're really aware of your surroundings and yourself and your body and your emotions, that's where you're really the most authentic. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. So a lot of actors speak about this feeling, this hyper alert feeling that you get, but some also talk about getting completely lost in the role, that they don't even remember what they did on stage. So when they step out, do
For
you
sure.
do you experience that as well?
Yeah. It really depends on the kind of character that you're doing. Now, say for instance, last year I did this Urdu play called Rafu, which was an original script written by Durdana Farid. And in that, I was not really playing a character of a person. I was kind of playing, I would say, a metaphor or a concept. A concept of innocence or purity and abandonment and pain and suffering and the longing for something, but she does not really know what she's looking for. So when it came to characters like that, I genuinely did not know what happened on stage. Like I remember right before going onto stage, um, I was just in this zone because the play begins with her committing suicide. So that was the zone that I was in. And after that, I just do not remember anything. I remember walking in, there was red light on me, and then that's it. And there have also been plays where I know what's happening on stage, but in the middle of the moment, I zone out, and whatever happens, happens. And then I go backstage and I literally pass out. Like I faint. And there was this one specific play that I did in Manipal where that happened, and I had to actually wait backstage till all of my co-stars came back, because the play was just a full length and it just went on, and I was the only person backstage that finished with my scenes midway. So yeah,
Why do you pass out?
I don't know. I think I was really overwhelmed. That character was about a very deranged, strange, mad, crazy woman who had to choose one child over the other, and then she commits suicide. What is this? What is this theme of
Running
suicide?
theme.
Yeah, she commits suicide, and yeah, so that was my last scene. I was just in that zone. I don't know why that happens. I think it just like overwhelms me, and it's
This reminds me of something Tom Hanks once said, that a lot of people come up to me and ask, how do you do it? And this is Tom Hanks speaking, not me, obviously. And he said, I don't know. Because one, I actually don't know. And two, if I sat down to think about it, then I wouldn't be able to do it ever again.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Very similar. Okay, so there's a follow-up question in this, and I really apologize for going so abstract so early. It's only been 2 minutes, 3 minutes, so this is a new record. But I get this feeling that when you play your roles on stage, do you think there's more to it than just playing a DMV clerk, a struggling actor, an art therapist? Do you think what you're doing on stage is, this is something I've heard from actors in interviews where they talk about this certain kind of a force or this energy, this trance state, everyone uses different words, that takes control of them, and then they uh, basically lose all memory of what they're doing on stage. And in a way, it flows through them and it becomes something that's bigger than what they are. Does this make sense to you, or is this getting too abstract?
Very true. No, no, and not abstract at all. The stage is my temple. I've always believed that. And it's like the faith that I have in the stage is like nothing else. I know that once I put my step forward onto that, it will always forever hold me. And whenever I will need help, it will help me. And that's where I feel like the energy kind of flows. Like sometimes you remember going on stage, but after that, whatever happens just happens. And it's not, sometimes I feel it isn't me. It is someone else. Like when I did Shmool. So Shmool is about a clown that goes on to put a performance about, an old man and a clock and the conversation that they have with each other, and how the clock tries to convince the old man how he actually has unlimited time, and with that time that you really need to make that one dress that you've always wanted to make. And with that play, I took help from my grandfather, who's not with me anymore, but I knew that he was there. I knew that he would have loved it for sure. So that kind of motivated me to kind of just go through with it. Even the end of the play, rather, when the clown comes back and unmasks herself. The whole performance is done with. She comes back, she looks into the mirror, she's vulnerable, and she's just trying to like take or peel layers off of her, and to show herself who she really is, and to try to relive those moments of her mom's last voice message that she got before her mom passed away. And I mean, that is kind of her trying to give herself the unlimited time that she would have loved. So in that moment, I thought of my grandmom, who I've never met in life. I've only heard of her from my granddad and my mother. So that's where I felt her presence as well. So I think for sure, like this energy definitely exists if you're willing to welcome it with both arms. Does that make sense?
It all makes sense. We're definitely going to talk about Shmool a lot more, but something interesting you mentioned where you're channeling experiences or memories of people you know into the work you do.
Right.
Do you think it's important for actors to maybe step aside and practice certain methods, skills, techniques in isolation? So there's a lot of acting techniques, a lot of acting schools. Or do you think it's more important for actors to just step out in the world, expose themselves to different experiences and scenarios, and also naturally learn more about love, loss, pain, responsibility? And if you grow as a person normally, then you'll be able to provide that depth in your acting performances. Or do you think there's still a place for stepping aside and actually learning those acting techniques on the side as well?
It really depends on the actor, and it depends on the role that you're doing. I personally would enjoy to go out into the world for some roles. I think that is my main technique, just to observe people. I love observing people. I love kind of like stealing little nuances that I can get from them. Like, say, for instance, last week I was at the beach and I saw this couple who was sitting on one mat. It was not really a place for two people, but anyway.
Titanic.
They were sitting on one mat, and just their embrace, that intimacy, and the uncomfortable or the comfortable silences, and the eye contact and the lack of eye contact. So things like that I would love to pick up. I would not be able to pick that up from, say, a book or a technique that I'm learning in school or watching a masterclass. I would not be able to get that. So it really does depend on the actor and the work that they're doing. But I personally prefer going out.
Interesting. So it's definitely possible for actors to not practice acting and still be good actors.
That's a very interesting question. I would say so. I would like to believe so. I really would. I think sometimes craft, yes, of course, it does need experience, it does need practice. But sometimes it just, like, your own craft kind of surprises you, where you don't really have to prepare, but it just comes out in the most authentic way that it can. And that's what's most beautiful.
Don't have to practice. I knew Salman Khan and Sanjay Dutt were ahead of their time. They knew what they were doing. Okay, so let's talk a bit about your journey. So you got into theatre when you first auditioned for Night of January 16 by Ayn Rand at Manipal.
How did you know that?
Just guessed it. So the point is, do you remember the feeling when you were on stage for the first time? Do you remember, firstly, how do you rate your performance, and what was the feeling like when you were on stage the first time?
So I had all of 2 lines. I still remember it. It is not possible, but it is probable. I think that is the line. So I was a handwriting expert, and those are the only 2 lines that I had. But I was on stage the entire time. My experience was surreal. I mean, it was a big hall full of 700 people, and it was my first year of college, so I didn't really know what to expect. Um, it was crazy, but I think I enjoyed it more because I got to watch all my co-actors and all my friends perform right in front of me. So that was really nice. I think I really enjoyed that bit more than just being on stage. Yeah. But in Manipal in itself, like I didn't really do many plays as such. It was when I came to Dubai and I auditioned for Venus in Fur when things really started picking up.
Did you have a specific moment when it all just clicked for you?
Venus in Fur for sure.
While you were on stage, or just doing rehearsals, just gradually?
I think it was the audition. So the play begins with an actress actually walking into a theater hall to audition with the director. And that's exactly what I did with this audition. I just walked in with my costume. I had like a lot of things in hand and I walked in and I was just like, okay, I'm sorry, I'm really late, blah, blah, blah. And I just like started saying my lines without even introducing myself. And the director was really thrown off. And she was like rumbling through the script to like find the lines and say them back to me. That was really fun. I think that was a moment I realized I think I can do this. I think it's going to be a fun ride.
So you were giving an audition of actress giving an audition.
Yeah.
Quite meta. That's interesting. So that audition was the moment where you actually thought that this is something you want to do. That was the
Yeah, I've never felt that kind of energy before, especially when I did it back in college. I mean, back in uni, it was just something that I enjoyed doing. Fair enough, but here there's always that rush, that high that you get after, say, an audition or a performance or a rehearsal. And that's what I crave for, and that's the moment I realized it.
Would you like to hear a joke?
Sure.
Not that funny.
Okay.
So a man goes to the doctor and he says, "Doctor, I'm depressed. Life seems harsh and cruel. I feel all alone in a threatening world that is vague and uncertain." And the doctor says, "The treatment is simple. The great clown Pagliacci is in town. Go and see him. That should cheer you up." And upon hearing this, the man starts crying. And the doctor asks why. And the man says, "But doctor, I am Pagliacci." Yeah, hilarious. In the play Shmool, which you wrote and directed, you play a clown, a performer who, you've already spoken about this, who talks about the old man and the clock, and is also trying to make people smile, laugh, and make them happy. And then the second half of the play is focused on the performer behind the pain, behind the mask. And among the many things that there's a commentary on, there's also a commentary on the inherent sadness and the loneliness of our life. So the first question for you is, have you ever felt that acting is an alienating profession? Does it ever make you feel alone?
That's a very nice question. No, not for me. I think it makes me feel more connected to the universe rather than just alone, if that makes sense. Because that's where I'm most aware of my emotions and my feelings. And I am that kind of a person that tries to really squeeze everything that I can get out of life the moment I get it, especially with emotions. Like if I'm sad today, I will be sad. I'm not going to fight it. I'm not going to try to be positive about it. I'm just going to get into bed, eat, and have everything spill on me and just sit there for a whole day. Because that's the emotion that I'm being given, and I don't mind experiencing it. So to your so to your question, it doesn't really make me feel alone as an actor. I think it just makes me feel more connected to the universe. And that would mean I'm not really alone. I have my universe with me.
Reminds me of a quote that Rumi had said, that do not ever feel alone because the entire universe is inside you. Yeah, makes complete sense. So coming back to Shmool then, the story which I felt was very powerful, very poignant. Was it inspired by your own story? Was it inspired by actors that you've seen around you or people that you've seen around you? In a way, it reminded me of the movie Tamasha as well, which we spoke about. Was there any real life inspiration for it?
So I've always wanted to do a clown unmasking, and I don't know why that is. Like always. And when Joker came out, when I saw it happen on screen where he's actually putting on makeup, and I thought, oh my God, somebody else has already done it. Like it's about time that I do it as well. So that was always been in my head for a long time. And I think a year ago, I was sitting with a friend of mine in the car, and she was like, I want to make you listen to something. And that's when she puts on Shmool, which is a song from the movie The Last 5 Years. And I thought, oh my God, I want to do this. I want to be able to do this on stage. And then I tried to figure out a concept where I could involve um, the clown unmasking as well. So I thought, why not? Why not bring in a loss of somebody that's really close to her? That would make a lot of sense. And because of the fact that I've grown up listening to my grandfather talk about his loss and grown up listening to my mom talk about hers. I mean, losing your mother at the age of 19 is probably the hardest thing that she's had to go through. So that kind of inspired me for sure to do it. So that play was for my granddad and my grandmom and my mother for sure. All in all.
Do you do that often? Do you feel your personal experiences often drive the work you're doing? And I say this because a lot of the directors that you had on the Junction Roundtable spoke about channeling a certain moment in their life or a certain memory, some moment where they were quite happy or sad in the plays that they were doing. So one of the directors was talking about how she went through a divorce and she tried to channel that feeling that she had through the plays that she was doing. How much of art is for yourself and how much is just art itself?
For me, art is fully, completely emotions. It is my experiences, and it is also the experiences that I have not been through, but I've seen other people go through it. I don't think, like personally, I would not be able to connect to art that I cannot. How do you say it? I cannot
Relate?
I wouldn't say relate. I cannot. Oh God damn it!
See the emotions? Let's go through all the words.
What is a word? What is a word? Like I see someone that
Yeah.
I know. I identify.
Connect?
No, not connect. I
Damn it.
identify.
Resonate, relate, connect, identify.
I think it. Okay, maybe the
My English
closest
is running
word.
out, honestly.
I think the closest word would be identify. Like if it's something that I cannot identify, then I wouldn't really be able to connect with it. Say, for instance, Rectangle Man, when I watched it, it's not a language that I know. But the things that they did on stage was something that I could connect with. So it caught my attention. For me, art is definitely 100% emotions and things that I can connect with. And I don't think any art exists without that. I mean, how is art created anyway? It comes from something within you. So art is art, but that art is emotion. Oh, it's a nice line. I like it.
That's a quote. Yeah.
Yeah.
5 generations down,
I'm
people
just
will be
gonna-
quoting you for that, right? When you say art comes from within you, how do you view, let's say, creativity or the process of creating art? Is it something similar to just working on a blank slate where you do something completely new, or do you feel creativity or the process of creating art is just it's a culmination of all these experiences and your inspirations and influences from all the people you follow, and then in the end you find a slightly newer way of merging it all together, combining it with your life experience and then putting forward? Or do you think you're actually creating something completely brand new on the spot?
Definitely the latter, for sure. And they need to be given credit, right? I mean, they did whatever it was, did inspire me, did kind of ignite that spark in me, which is why I'm doing what I'm doing. So definitely the latter. I think everything that we go through in life, everything that we see or hear or touch or feel, stays within you. It sticks with you, and and all of that kind of tries to find a way to seep out when you make art.
Another quote for the generation.
Oh.
Yeah. So I had the Junction co-founder Gautam Goenka on the show earlier this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we ended up talking about taking up dark roles. And well, it was sparked from this story that I told him about watching this interview of Rajkumar Rao. And in the interview, he's describing the state of mind he was in when he was shooting for the movie Shahid. And what he said was, when he was shooting, he was in this particular state of mind that, and this is a movie about religious prejudice and a man who was, who was assaulted and he was beaten a lot for his faith. So he said he was in such a dark state of mind that one day he was at home, he's watching the news, and the bulletin came on about a terrorist attack. And his first reaction was, Acha hua, before he caught himself. And the question that comes from that is, and this is something a lot of the female actors on the roundtable as well said, that it seems every character you do, parts of that character stay behind in your personality or seeps into your personality. Would you agree with that?
I would like to believe so. Yeah. With me for sure, things stick, but just for a while, and then the rest of me just kind of comes back in. Like all of my other personalities would come back and be like, "No, you do not get to be here. You have to leave. This is our place." But no, it does stick with you. But I think eventually it kind of seeps out. But again, it really does depend on the per person for sure. But for me, no, I don't think it would stick with me for long.
Have you seen actors who have changed completely after a role that they perform?
I don't know. Do you know of any? I want to meet them all.
Wait, is this a different character of yours speaking?
No. I don't think so. I don't think I follow like lives of actors that much.
There are a lot of popular examples. Heath Ledger in Joker was obviously one of the biggest ones. And then even from a Bollywood example, Ranveer Singh, when he played Khilji in Padmavat as well, he said the same thing where he went to this dark state of mind.
Even Riz Ahmed for
his recent, the one that won the Academy Award,
yes.
Right? Wish I knew the name of the movie. Yeah, I'm gonna cut that part.
It's Metallica.
Huh?
I think it's Metallica.
We'll keep that in then. Yeah. So is that naturally it doesn't happen to you? You seem to be you seem to handle it quite well, but do you think it's a scary place for actors to take up a dark role means that there is a certain doubt or a certain possibility of that part of the character seeping within you? And I say this because when you talk about Heath Ledger and Joker, so the wives' tale is that when he got the role, he called up Jack Nicholson, who had played the previous version of the Joker, and he had asked him for advice. And Jack Nicholson had said, "Don't let the role consume you." And that's pretty much what happened. And then when he passed away, the reporters went up to Jack Nicholson and they asked him for his thoughts, and he said, "I warned him." So I get the feeling like I wouldn't know how to react, and it creates this element of fear within me, whether that acting can become a very dangerous profession as well for the performers.
For sure. Absolutely. But I think it's up to you to decide where that line is and when to, and then to make sure to not cross that line. And like I said, it creates such a high. It's like a drug. So once you're in it, you really do not know how it looks like from the outside. Does that make sense? So once you get into a character, and even when the project is over, it is a new normal for you. And it may not be the same for your loved ones, but that's where you are at that point. And unfortunately, for some people, you tend to cross that line without knowing, or with knowing rather. But for me, it's very easy. It will take a couple of, say, hours max, but not more than that. I think the adrenaline and the high that comes after that just helps me get out of it.
While we're talking about playing dark characters, also want to touch upon good, I don't know what the opposite is, white characters, I guess. What do you think is harder to play? Because I've lately developed this opinion that Bollywood or Hollywood, they have this lust for crazy, unhinged characters. And I get this feeling that the moment a good actor takes up a crazy role, he's guaranteed an award nomination.
Yeah.
And I felt that I'm not saying they were bad performances, but I think a part of me just feels like it's relatively easier to come across unhinged or weird or creepy than to play a believable girl next door or an ordinary person with certain amount of nuance. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I And because of the fact that those characters are what sticks with you, because it's new, it's exciting, it's not, it's not ordinary, I would say. But at the same time, I love the ordinary. I love, how do you call it, the mango people.
Aam Aadmi.
Aam Aadmi, yeah, for sure. I think that's where all of the beauty lies. And maybe, I don't know how to explain it. I mean, it definitely is very difficult to play a normal character, an ordinary person, now that I think about it. I've always enjoyed doing crazy, like like a crazy woman or a suicidal woman or a clown, things that are out of the ordinary. Because like I said, like people get excited, people like to watch new things. Um Aam Aadmi is you yourself, but I want to see what's different. I want to see what's different than me on stage.
Do you think there's a challenge in when you, and I hate to use the word ordinary, but you know what I mean about these roles, something that's not unorthodox. Basically, a person, let's say, a normal worker or something like that, someone who's living an ordinary life, that's all. Do you think there's a challenge of not letting your real personality seep into that because you try to make it relate to who you are as a person?
Yeah, for sure. I think, yeah. Absolutely. It is really difficult to play an ordinary character. Now, I would love to call it ordinary because there's absolutely nothing wrong in it. There's this whole rat race on how to be the special one, how to be the one that stands out.
I don't want hate mail, okay? From ordinary people.
I want to stand out. I want to be the first. I want to be the one that's, that's remembered. So much of beauty in the ordinary. I mean, the sun is ordinary. It comes every day, it goes every day. The birds that fly, it's everything's so normal. But that moment when you catch it, when a bird flies, like that one,
they can't
it's
see
beautiful.
it. They can't see the birds in the room,
Just
right?
imagine a bird flying. It's just like, yeah. Yeah. Wait, what are we talking about?
Embracing the ordinary.
Embracing the ordinary. Yeah. But yes, back to your question, it definitely is difficult to play an ordinary character and not let your own character kind of seep through. Because then it's not really acting, is it? If you're just going to play yourself. Unless that's what the director wants. This is why I enjoy spoken word poetry a lot more than acting. Because then I get to go on stage in front of a bunch of people, say what I want to say, and say it the way I want to say it. And I can be myself there. That is the ordinary. There's a lot of beauty in that. My God, my words are just... Whew.
This is the fourth quote. Are you keeping count? How many quotes you're getting from the end of it? There's people sitting with a notepad, just noting everything down. We're going to talk about spoken word for sure. But I've got a few more questions for you on acting.
Right. Shoot.
Another one was, so this was inspired by an interview I watched of Gary Oldman when he's talking about the role he played of Winston Churchill in The Darkest Hour. And he said the makeup and the costume that he used to put on for that role took around 4 hours. And by the end of those 4 hours, he said he never felt like Gary Oldman. Like by the 4th hour, there's a certain moment where he just switches into Winston Churchill. And he said that the director never met Gary Oldman on set ever. And the same has happened with Daniel Day-Lewis when he played Lincoln, all these other roles as well. Famous method actors when they come on set. How helpful do you think makeup, costume, or just maybe picking up a certain accent or the way some people speak or walk puts you into that character? Do you think it makes that switch, gives you that mask that you just completely forget who you are?
Yeah, it makes the switch really easy. Especially when you look so different, when you look like the character that you're playing. And you look into the mirror and you see this completely different person who's actually... I mean, it's such a beautiful thing. It's such a wonderful thing to be able to do that. This is why I love, even though a lot of people go, say against it, but I love acting and rehearsing while I'm looking into the mirror. Because there, I'm not really judging myself, but at the same time, I know that there's someone out there who's watching me, who's looking at me and saying and listening to what I'm trying to say. Does that make sense? So when you look different, and when you're looking into yourself in the mirror, in that character, it makes the switch really easy. It makes it more believable for yourself also.
You think there's a challenge of being overcritical if you keep looking at how you perform every second?
That depends on the person. That really does. It depends on what you're really focusing on, what your actual intention is. If you're going to look at the mirror and just be like, I want to look this way when I'm emoting, then of course you are not really acting there. But if you're just into it and you're just looking into the eyes and saying, I mean, looking into the eyes and just saying what you have to say and trying to get yourself to believe it, fun.
Do you ever say lines that are not in the script? Just like, would you imagine lines that the character would say but not in the script completely just to get into that zone?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah. How to explain it? Mm. I love talking to myself a lot. So when it comes to a character having to say a line, but say for instance, I don't connect to that line as much, I would just try to find other lines that I would be able to connect to it as Farzana, and then just go from there. Like for instance, say, today the oceans are heavy. I'd rather just say, I mean, I'd rather just look at the mirror and say, I'm sad. That makes me get into it more and just say the ocean feels heavy.
Interesting. Fascinating stuff. What's that? No, that wasn't a quote. No. Not every line, okay? I would love to. No, not everyone. Okay, so what's the process like? How do you pick up a new role? Is it the new director that you want to work with? Is the script that speaks to you first? Is it other actors that is appealing to you? What is the most important thing for you, or the first thing on top of the pecking order? That pecking order, that's what it's called, right? Anyway, what's the first thing on top of the list that makes you pick up a role?
It's a mix of all, but I think the first thing would definitely be the script. If the character speaks to me, then good. That's the first step. Then I would definitely think about the director. I'm the kind of actor that likes to work with directors who know what they want, who have a vision. Because that's when I am able to learn. I'm able to see the way they see things. And that would challenge me to kind of do things in a way I wouldn't really do. I will have to go according to what they want. Definitely the director. And then, of course, the actors. It really, the energy that revolves around rehearsals and the play and the script and the work is very important. And that you get from your co-actors, that you get from the environment that you're in with them. And there are some co-actors who I genuinely enjoy working with because they kind of save you on stage or in front of the screen when you miss out or when you zone out. And it's such a nice feeling to be held by your co-actors.
Do you think there's a challenge to? This is inspired once again by a line one of the directors said on the roundtable, where they said that when he was doing the first rehearsal for his play, the director was clear to specify that actors, please remain actors, and let the director do the directing. Do you think it's a challenge? Do you often find that there's obviously you have your own perception and your own understanding of the script, and you have a lot of things to contribute as well. You are a director and a writer as well. But do you think there's a certain challenge in being able to surrender yourself to a certain director's vision and not let your perception of it seep into it?
Very much, yeah. It definitely is a challenge. I mean, there's something that you really love, the script, and you want to play it a certain way, but you're not allowed to. You've been asked to do something completely different. Now, say for instance, my character is a 19-year-old girl who wants to say, I'm sad. But then the director wants you to go like, I'm so sad today. Like it doesn't gel in, it doesn't sit right within me. But I have to do what I have to do. I mean, that's the work. That's where the challenge comes. But I love challenges, so I would definitely prefer that, like I said.
This ties into my next question, which was something you were talking about off camera, which is about making something you love your profession. And the challenge in that is that, sure, I'm sure the time just flies by. You love what you're doing, but there might be certain days when you just wake up and there's like a big rehearsal ahead or the big shoot ahead, and you just feel like, it's not the work that you're doing that's probably creating those emotions. Might be the traveling, the long hours, or something of that sort. Just the physical exertion that might just put you off something you love. Is that something you think about? Is it because there's a saying that says that don't make the thing you love the most your profession, make the thing you love the second most your profession, so that because I would imagine like acting for you in the past might have been a hobby of sorts, or it might be in a place of where you feel happy, or say a place of release after a long day of work. Acting is where, or movies or theaters, the place where you find happiness once again. Do you think that gets corroded if you make that your profession?
I wouldn't think so. Not for me. I'm someone who enjoys being really busy. Like I want to be able to not be able to sit in a place and just have a breather. I love being busy.
Sorry, why is that? Why do you prefer just being busy and not having a breather?
I think sometimes I feel I'm just trying to run away from my own emotions and from what I'm going through in life, so I can just, you know, use it as an excuse to be someone else or go through somebody else's emotions. I would rather play another person than just play me. I'm tired of playing myself. It's been what, so many years.
Don't
No,
reveal
no.
the age. Don't do it. Bleep that out.
Yeah. I enjoy being busy. In fact, in college, even like when I studied in Manipal, I studied occupational therapy. So, I would be in the hospital interning till about 6 p.m. And then right after that, I have to run for rehearsals. And then rehearsals would end at about 10 or 11. And then I would have another rehearsal for something else. And I would come back home at 2 or 1. And then back again to going to the hospital and working and doing. So I thoroughly enjoyed that because it's so lovely. Because I know that I'm going out there and doing things, you know? And that makes me want to, like, the moment I get that one special day where I don't have anything, that makes me want to live that more. Because, I finally get a day where I can just be by myself and be me and do the things, like do mundane things like do the laundry or do the dishes or just sit in bed and watch Netflix. That's when I enjoy, like, that makes me want to enjoy those things more. Make sense?
All makes sense,
Same
Farzana.
same thing now. Like, I mean, I am working as an occupational therapist. I work with kids with autism. So right after work, it's the same old thing. I go for rehearsals, I come back, and the next day it's on. And if it's not a rehearsal, it's a shoot. Or if it's not a shoot, it's a play. From so yeah, it's really nice to be busy, at least for me. I enjoy it. So it's never really hard work. I would not call it hard work or stress. It's just me living. I would like to call it that.
Let's talk about spoken word. So Robin Williams in Dead Poet Society said that we don't read and write poetry because it's cute. We read and write poetry because we're members of the human race. And the human race is filled with passion. Medicine, law, engineering, these are all noble pursuits and necessary to sustain life. But poetry, beauty, romance, love, these are what we stay alive for. Would you agree? Do you think, does poetry add meaning to your life?
For sure. For sure. I am someone who, I'm sure you know that now. I'm someone who has so many thoughts in my head, but I'm not really able to put it out on the table and actually make the other person understand what I'm trying to say. So when I see a poem that's written in a way where it explains exactly what I feel, but someone has just written it so beautifully and so well, the words just like flow. Yeah, I really enjoy that. When I think I started reading poetry from when I was about 14 years old, and not the famous poets, not people who have actually released books or who've written books, but like these random strangers that I found on Tumblr. I don't even know them, but I could connect with those pieces really well, and from there it all began.
How do you view the differences between acting and spoken word? Do you ever get the feeling that acting is more of a directed form of expression because you're working on a director's vision, there's a script that you're following, and it often feels you're telling a character story, but in spoken word, the feeling I get is more of a personal form of expression. Do you ever get that? Do you ever view that as a difference?
I think more than the director, I would say the writer of the play. That would be where the difference lies. But when you're writing your piece and when you're going and performing on stage, you know exactly what you want out of it. Um, Also, in a way, it's kind of cathartic, I would say, because you're literally going out there and you're saying these things about yourself and about your life, and you're just like peeling layers of your skin, and you're showing this is me. But with a play or with acting, you have more layers onto you as someone else. So that's where the difference lies. Definitely, the writer would be
Are there any
the
benefits
difference.
of that translate from spoken word into acting or from acting into spoken word?
I would say the ability or the confidence to emote. Because if you have I mean, it's different trying to be yourself on stage and trying to be someone else on stage. I think it would be much more easier for me to be someone else on stage rather than, I mean, just myself. But once you build on that confidence, then for sure it would just make spoken word more easier, I would say.
It's interesting you keep mentioning so playing yourself is a tougher role than playing other characters. Why do you think that?
I don't know. I mean, I have so many personalities. It's so difficult to choose one on stage.
Oh, poor you. I got 20 personalities. The guys out there just have one, or maybe not even one, right? Oh, what a problem. Oh, look at her. Oh, look at her struggles in life. She's got 20 personalities to pick from.
Yeah, I would say 16. But yeah.
It's good you're keeping count. A lot of your poems have been about personal journey or
How
your
do you
journey of
know
healing of
this?
some sort. Just guessing it. And this ties into the very common adage that you have in theater, in creativity, in poetry as well, that great work or great work, great art comes from great suffering. And the poetic way of saying is, well, there are two ways of saying it. One is that, let's say if you're playing a character on stage who is facing loss, if you haven't experienced that in your life, how can you give it that depth or that, how can you justify that role? And the opposite side of it, which also ties into the same adage, is that to truly understand happiness, which you touched upon when you're talking about keeping yourself busy and then enjoying the one day out, to truly enjoy happiness, you need to know what sadness feels like. Or to a poetic way of saying it is to know what light is, you need to experience darkness. Would you agree? Do you think great art does come from great suffering?
I think the great arc that we remember comes from great suffering. I don't know why this is, but I've always believed that you can be happy for somebody, but you can also be sad for somebody with a higher intensity. And it's not that you're stopping yourself from being happy, but it's just an emotion that you can't really grasp onto for that long. It's very fleeting. But sadness sticks. Sadness lingers, which is why, and sadness also triggers, right? Which is why I believe those like sad pieces or sad people or sad words that kind of sticks with you for far longer than the happy words. And then we try to see that as great work because that is what we remember, and that is what seems as important. So we kind of label that as great work. So I don't really know if great work can come from happiness or not. For me, it's always been sadness. Also, moments of just silence where you're just like floating around on the universe and you don't really know what's happening, but you're just there. I wouldn't really know what to call that. Maybe peace or serenity. Serenity, yeah. Great work may come from happiness. It's just that I don't know of it.
It's a good point, and I completely agree with you that the happy the happy works are not the one that you take back with you for some reason. Do you think there's a responsibility on art to be memorable?
Oh no. No, absolutely not. I think art you do, I mean, again, it depends on the artist. There are some artists who want to make great work to share with others. There are some artists who want to make great work for themselves. There is so it depends on the responsibility that they want to take. When it comes to me, I would say I would love to make art that people remember, or that touches, even if that's one person out of hundreds of people. If that one person is touched, I'm good. So yes, I will take that responsibility for sure. I mean, if someone is paying money, their hard-earned money to come watch a show, I might as well give them a good one.
Can that get burdensome on you? Like, can that put too much pressure that you have to create something memorable?
I don't think so. If that is your intention, then I don't think so. If it's your intention, then it'll just flow.
Before we start wrapping up, I'd love for you to interpret what we've built with the Lego. Well, I didn't build anything. So what have you done?
I think I have built. It's quite interesting. What do you think? Could be maybe like a crane that's trying to build.
You had a dinosaur of some sort.
Ooh, a dinosaur
Slightly
without
mutated.
feathers or with feathers. Do you think dinosaurs had feathers?
Apparently they had, right?
Right?
And they look Can you imagine? Like, I've got this picture for T-Rex, and the actual picture of it with someone actually made this simulation of it with feathers. It just looks like a giant bird, and that just kills the vibe.
Yeah, they don't seem so scary anymore.
Well, I hate birds actually.
I love birds.
I've had some pretty terrible experiences with pigeons and doves.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Wow, the universe really doesn't like you.
Yeah, something about birds in me. Or there's a story that one day people will know. Maybe your podcast, we can get that out. But
Ooh.
man, they've done me dirty.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Don't worry, I will speak to them. I'll
Yes.
have a talk with them and be like, Village is a good boy. Please be nice with him. You need to be.
I think they're beyond reason. Birds are government spies. What? But yeah, this feather thing. So I had a fossil hunter and archaeology expert on the show as well.
Ooh,
and we were talking about
that's so cool.
Yeah, we were talking about dinosaurs and feathers, and he said, "Yep, most of them had feathers, and it's just that they don't. I mean, feathers obviously degrade over time, so you
Yeah.
don't get to see them. But he showed me simulated pictures of all these dinosaurs. And I was like, man, it just doesn't hit the same.
Aw.
Because if you remove the feathers from these birds, they will all look like dinosaurs.
Yeah,
They're all
yeah.
descendants from the same. So, well, anyway.
Baby dinosaurs.
Yeah. Great conversation sparked by your half dinosaur, half bird.
Half crane.
Yeah.
That's also
Half crane as
yeah,
well.
Crane, yeah.
A lot of different personalities within one Lego, just like.
Me.
So, let's move on to final questions. What are some books, movies, or people that have strongly influenced in your life?
Ooh. Tuesdays with Maury. Have you read that book? I will give it to you.
Oh,
It's a very beautiful book. I don't remember much of it. I mean, I read it when I was about 14. But there are some parts of that book that really stuck with me. Another book would be The Unbearable Lightness of Being. That's also a very nice, lovely book by Milan Kundera. Right now, I'm reading Shantaram. It's really difficult for me to go to the next page because every page is so poetic. Every line, they have these nuances. I just want to sit there and be like, tell me more. Yeah. Poetry. There's this one poem. I think it's called "To Hold Life" by Ellen Bass or Ellen Bass. I'm not too sure. That's a really nice poem. Would you like for me to read it to you?
Yes, please.
Oh. Okay. Let's find it. It's actually called the thing is. Okay. To love life, to love it even when you have no stomach for it, and everything you've held dear crumbles like burnt paper in your hands, your throat filled with the silt of it. When grief sits with you, its tropical heat thickening the air, heavy as water, more fit for gills than lungs. When grief weighs you down like your own flesh, only more of it, an obesity of grief, you think, how can a body withstand this? Then you hold life like a face between your palms, a plain face, no charming smile, no violet eyes, and you say, yes, I will take you. I will love you again.
Amazing.
It's one of my favorite poems, yeah. So pieces like these, they keep me going and they inspire me.
What are some people that have been role models in your life?
There's not one specific one. I think I just steal bits and pieces of everyone that I meet, right? But I think for now, I would definitely say my grandfather. I don't know why he comes back. He keeps coming back to me. I mean, he passed away about 3 years ago. In fact, the weekend that I was doing Venus in Fur, right before my show, I found out that he passed away. I wasn't really as close with him either. I mean, I would spend very little time during the holidays. But those times were the most brilliant. He would feed his cats before he would feed me, for sure. And we would sit and watch WWE, but there was so much... I think it was the aura. He had such an aura. And he was very different from me. Very disciplined, always on time, very religious as well, the complete opposite of me. But then again, the fact that he could have faith, if he can have faith in something like religion, which is not tangible, which he cannot really touch or feel, which he cannot see, and just live with that faith, then so can I with my dreams. So can I with the things that I would love to do, but I just don't know what they are at the moment. I don't know what I want to do in life. I know that I like acting, but I don't know the pathway to it. but I have faith. So that, yeah, for sure. Definitely a big role model in my life. Also, my grandmother, even though I've never met her, I believe she's around. So, yeah, definitely the most positive influences in life.
I also find them very fascinating. Grandparents, just the fact that they've seen so much. I mean, so I'm sure your grandfather, my grandfather. So my grandfather was born 1939.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine, like, just the thought of it? So he was born before India existed as a country, right?
Yeah. It's insane.
Before UAE, before Bangladesh, before all these countries, all these things that you think are just normal, it's just been there forever. Not really, because he's seen a time where
Exactly.
none of it existed, and he's seen all these things that I read about in history books, the World War II, and the wars and the politics and the entire U.S. presidency. He's been there, and he's pretty much been witness to all that. I just find all of that very, very
So fascinating. Yeah.
So much depth and such an aura around all of them, all the people.
For sure.
What is one acting role that you would love to do in your life?
Ooh, interesting. I think somebody ordinary. Definitely challenging because it will be difficult for me to be remembered. But someone ordinary would be it. It can be someone who, I don't know, does the dishes in a house. A beggar on the street. Or a housewife. Yeah.
Is there a movie role that you watched and you thought maybe you could have done it better?
I'm sure there are lots of roles where I would have thought I would have done it differently, but not better. I wouldn't say better. I would say differently for sure. I would love to work with Sanjay Leela Bhansali. Just one day. One day.
He's watching. He's watching. Don't
Yeah.
worry. The word will get to him.
Sanjay,
Sanjay,
see this?
Is that how you?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
If you see this.
I don't think. You think that's what Deepika did to get her?
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh my God, she's so talented. Of course, her craft speaks for her.
Oh, but in your case, you have to.
Oh no, of course. No,
Sanjay.
I meant call me to discuss is what I meant, Sanjay. Yeah.
Which ties in perfectly into my next few questions, which what are some of the greatest movies according to you?
Movies that are simple. I don't really have any specific, I don't have a specific favorite movie or anything of that sort. For me, the greatest movies are movies that have literally 2 people or 3 people having a conversation. Like, say, Before Sunrise. Yeah, absolutely love that movie. There's another one, I don't really remember the name of it. I think it's called You and I, Me and You or something. It's about a relationship between 2 people and they're struggling to be together because one person is from the UK and the other person is from the US, and how, and after so many years when they meet, it's no more. Sorry for the spoiler. But
yeah, why would you do that?
But yeah, ordinary movies that just have conversations that are real and not really scripted. Kind of like that.
Isn't that crazy when you said the movies about 2 people having a conversation? Just thought about Before Sunrise and Sunset become the quintessential.
Oh, for sure.
What
Did you know that when they were writing Before Midnight, the third part, there's a fight scene, and they apparently took 2 weeks to write that scene, and they put in everything that they wanted to say with whoever else that they were fighting with. That's so interesting. That's so cool. I would love to do that.
Yeah. I remember reading this, I think.
Yeah?
I'm not sure. Yeah, it's been a while. Okay, what are some of the greatest acting performances according to you?
What are these questions? I don't like choosing. Heath Ledger.
Yeah, in no particular order.
Heath Ledger in Candy. Have you watched Candy?
Yes. Great movie.
And who was the actress?
I wish I could
Don't
tell you.
really remember.
Yeah, but she was fantastic.
Oh, for sure. And just now, a recently released one, Piece of a Woman. Oh my God. You have to watch it. It's been nominated for Best Movie. It was nominated for Best Movie. That actress is insane. So it's a movie about a woman giving birth. And the whole shot was for about at least, I think, half an hour. The whole shot. Can you imagine half an hour when you've not really given birth to anybody? I mean, yourself. and
I
you're
can, yeah, not
and you're
yeah.
and the fact that you have to act it out and be as authentic as possible, and to make it look so real. The craft, oh my god, so beautiful. Definitely a movie that has like stuck with me for the past 2 weeks. Pieces of a Woman.
What would you like your legacy to be like?
I don't know that one. I think that's something that I'm still trying to figure out. When I find out, I'll come back and let you know.
Please do. Welcome anytime. You can send us an email. Yeah.
But for now, I would say just somebody who is remembered as kind. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Final question, Farzana.
Ooh. Yeah, let's go.
What do you think is the meaning of life?
I'm still trying to figure that one out. But I would say the meaning of life would be just to be authentic, to be yourself, to be real. And, enough of putting on facades, enough of putting on masks. Every day you perform in front of so many people, be it your parents, the people that you know, your friends, or outside. But when are you ever the real you? Even with yourself, sometimes when you're by yourself, you're probably still acting because there's this face that you want to be. There's this person that you want to be, and you try to be that within your mind when you're by yourself. So when are you ever really yourself? I think the meaning of life is to just be authentic and also to try to welcome life with both hands. I would say, as things come on, you have to grab it. You have to grab it, and you have to try to squeeze everything you can get out of it. Yeah.
That's another quote. How many has it been? 5 or 6? Farzana, thank you so much. If people want to connect with you online, in person, watch one of your plays, where can they do so? Come for one of your spoken word performances, where can they do so?
So they can follow me on Instagram. It's Farzana Palathingal, FARZANAPALATHINGAL. So yeah, I usually post about my plays and my shoots and my poems and all of that there, so they can get in touch with me there.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Farzana. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much, Shailesh, for having me, and I hope to see you soon. When I'm more famous and more better, you can have me again.
No, we don't call famous people on the show, actually.
Oh.